Come on, Barry, you wanna go outside? It's gonna storm today. So the tropical storm, you know, we're landlocked here. We're 9 hours from any shore, but we will get like the kind of dissipating end of a tropical storm sometime, and it's supposed to hit us here today about noon, kind of the back end of Cristobal. So I'm gonna come through here and take my hanging plants down and my wind chimes and stuff just to make sure there's nothing that can get damaged by high winds. But first, coffee. Right, Bear? So I started picking these yesterday. These are my dragon tongue bush beans. If you're growing dragon tongue bush beans, and really any bush beans, it's hard to tell just by looking at a thickly sown patch like this that they're ready. But if you get down in there, because usually they start producing towards the bottom of the plant first, so if you get down in there, you usually have quite a few beans hanging. I picked a lot yesterday and sent them home with my dad, but there are still quite a few here to be picked. Aren't those beautiful? So dragon tongue bush beans are like most other things that produce purple. Like these were underneath and they have some purple streaking, but if you have some that are really in the sunlight, they're gonna be really purpley streaked because the sunlight really brings that out. Wow, we picked all of these ripe ones yesterday and already look at this. They're small, but they're delicious. So I love the fact that tomatoes, when they first set their little baby fruit, they're just so unique. Like this is one of the bumblebees, probably purple bumblebee, I think, or sunrise. So you can already see the streaking on this. Here you can already see the shape of this yellow pear. And here this blue goldberry is already starting to display its anthocyanins. If you have heavy rain coming through and you know that your garden's gonna be hit, and I don't mean like a summer shower, I mean like you're expecting high winds and really heavy rain. There are a few things that you want to do, especially this time of year whenever you might have a lot of large growth or plants that are getting heavy with fruit. You need to make sure everything is well supported. So like I've got some tomato plants here that need to be tied up again. I have some that really need to be tied up in the high tunnel that are falling over, but that's not my concern because those are not going to be affected by the heavy rain. So I'm going to give my attention out here first and just make sure that everything's tied up, because if you have any big branches that are hanging off and heavy rain and high winds come, that can break those off. So you definitely want everything to be secure. Kind of the same thing, I'll just kind of look around everywhere. When my sunflowers get really big, they're really not quite there yet, but you can see right here, sometimes what I'll do is wrap some twine or something and tie them to the corner of the arch trellis. And I may go ahead and do that with those just because it's close. They could potentially be damaged by high winds. They're probably fine. Here in another, like if they were another 18 inches tall or so, I would be very concerned because they'll get tall as this pavilion. And at that point, I'll tie them one place or even two places to the trellis just to give them support. And it's like that with anything you've got growing up the trellis. If you've got branches going off in another direction, squash plants that kind of have a little rambler, usually try to train that back to the trellis if I know that there's going to be weather coming. And the other thing is harvesting. Because what happens if you get a lot of rain, the fruit on your plants will swell. If you're in the instance of something like tomatoes, especially if it's been dry and you haven't been watering like super consistently, you'll get a lot of cracking because essentially that fruit swells and the skin just can't keep up. And with things like cucumbers, like I have some smallish cucumbers and I'll leave those out here because if those grow a lot in the rain and they absorb a lot of water, like cucumbers are really high water content anyway, so that's fine. But like I have a lot of squash in the back that I'll probably go ahead and harvest because I don't really want those to swell a ton with water. A lot of rain is kind of like a double-edged sword because it will dilute the flavor of your fruit. It can cause a lot of damage, but after you get a really heavy rain and like a thunderstorm, the way that the garden responds it's kind of magical. Like, you come out and things will literally grow a foot in like a rainstorm like what we're gonna get today. It's crazy the amount of growth. And as long as you're prepared for it and you've gone through and you've done the precautions to make sure you don't get a lot of damage, it can be a really cool thing to watch your garden leap like that. Hey, it's just Ben. What are you doing? Bear is so sweet. He sleeps right underneath my feet. Like, when I step out of bed, he's right there on the floor. He's the best ever. This week when the Hollers were here, Bear decided that Ben Holler was like his new bestie. And it was so funny. He followed him everywhere. He sat next to him on the couch. He just wanted to be wherever Ben was. And then whenever Ben got in the car to leave, Bear, like, he wanted to get in the car with him. And then whenever Ben closed the door, Bear turned around and looked like, what's happening? It was really sad. Did you make a good friend, Bear? It's always sad whenever you make a good friend and they have to go home, huh? Sometimes when big storms come, I just sit in the pavilion until they roll in. I'm not doing that today. I have a lot of work to get done. Oh, hey, look. You see that little turtle friend? He's probably glad he's over there because Bear can't mess with him. Check out these young rose blooms. They won't be this small once the plant is more mature, but this is what they will look like, just a larger version. So I told you guys I was going to show you the progress of these cucumbers. This was this size yesterday, so that's about a day's growth. This is the silver slicer. Seeds came from Hudson Valley Seed Company. When I met Ken, who owns Hudson Valley, at Baker Creek Seed Expo, of course Hudson Valley's out of New York State, and Ken made some suggestions, and I got, I think, about 6 or 7 packs of seeds that were like his personal suggestions, and this was one of them. So I made sure to grow this year because if the owner of the seed company suggests it as a favorite, that's always one that I want to grow. Anytime that I have an opportunity to like chat with someone who owns a seed company, I always ask, what are your personal favorites of the seeds that you carry? And those are the ones I want to put in my garden. So I'm going to show you a little bit of something that's going on here that's not great. These are the tomato plants that I have that are so damaged by aphids. And if you look at this, you see this kind of spot coming in. How covered up those are. So I'm actually going to take this and throw it in like the burn pile. And I'm going to get these other lower leaves off as well. Once my tomatoes get big enough, and they're getting close now, I'll start pruning off all of these bottom branches, and eventually once they get big enough, there will be no branches underneath this trellis. Like the bottom 20 inches will just be a stalk, no branches. Because the splashback, this is one of those things that you have to do kind of in preparation for a lot of rain, but the splashback will hit these bottom branches, and like where these are already starting to get a little bit sick, it's not that big of a deal when the rest of the plant is healthy. Your bottom branches oftentimes are going to show stress and damage first, and a lot of times just pruning them off is all you need to do. And keeping the bottom part clear means that you're not getting a bunch of splashback. It will keep your plants healthier longer to keep the bottom branches off. Of course, these were just there because the plants weren't big enough to take these low branches off. We are starting to get a lot of fruit on even the big tomato plants though. Check this out. This is the Costoluto Genovese, and it's got, I mean, this cluster is wild how many are right there. I love the way the garden feels right before a storm. Oh, look. Check out that beautiful dahlia. Do y'all remember sowing these bean plants with me the other day? Y'all hear that? That's the pig singing the song of their people because it's feeding time. They're being fed right now. So last night my dad came out. Oh my gosh. I forgot I put this in my pocket. I just reached in there and was like, what is that pokey thing? Last night my dad came out, and he actually came out and the kids weren't here because they were at my mom's house, and he just popped by. And he was wanting to see the Hollers, but he was a little late to see them, and he came out. It was just us here because Maya was working on the kitchen. I was like, well, let me show you my garden. He hadn't been out here in a few weeks, so You miss a lot this time of year. So I was like, here, let's grab a basket and let's go get you some food. I really wish that I had made a video like after the fact. I didn't grab the camera, but it was just a really sweet time, and now I'll just have to remember it. You know, I have a video of it. But we went and dug potatoes and harvested some squash, and I gave my dad the first okra that we got this year. And we got some eggs and came and picked beans and then pulled some onions and some garlic and some carrots and filled him a basket up to take home. And it was just really, really fun. It was one of the things that I used to just imagine being able to do. And this is just such a sweet time of year because, you know, I mean, there are times during the year on our farm where we're eating the food we preserve, but it's not really producing a whole lot. But the time of year where you can just go and fill a basket up out of the soil. While the haulers were here, we cooked whole meals that we grew and raised on our farm. And it's so, so rewarding, and I love that so much. Oh, how sweet is it that Maya came out and fertilized all my roses yesterday? He said my billion rose plants. I was like, we don't have a billion. And I said, we have 10. And he said, no, we have a lot more than 10. And I counted, and technically we have 17, which is more than 10, but not a billion. So he fertilized all of them, which was very sweet. I had to make sure my rain gauge is empty so I can really tell what happens this afternoon. I get asked about this rain gauge a lot. I actually got it at a local grocery store, so I don't know where you can order one online, but it is really beautiful. I'm the world's worst at leaving my rain gauges outside past when it freezes and they bust. And so I had to go buy new rain gauges this year. And I found this one at a local grocery store. They get really cute gardening stuff in it. It was like $15. So I wish I could tell you where to order it, but I don't know where. So it's like kind of late at night, and I just realized that the last clip that I shot for this vlog didn't record while I was editing. So I didn't want to just leave you guys hanging. I wanted to sign off, but since I'm already got the camera on, I thought I'd give you just a little peek at what Sweet Maya did today. You ready to show them, Maya? Yo, look at this construction zone. It's so bad. Let's take a look. There's no light in here. Ah! I don't have a kitchen.
Or a pantry.
Or a pantry. What the heck? That's pretty intense, Maya. Wow. We do have a Bruce. Bruce! Bruce! Hey, Brucey. It's pretty intense, man. And Maya got this all cut, pulled out, everything reset, and then the cabinet guy called and said he was going to be a few days delayed.
Honestly, me and Ben were talking, and we're like, I know it's stressing you out, but we're like, oh, that gives us plenty of time to make sure everything's ready to go.
This is crazy.
It seems bigger.
There's nothing in it.
It seems bigger.
So I sent this picture to a few people today, and everybody was just a picture of the kitchen gutted. And everybody was like, oh wow, you're gonna have like a completely different kitchen. I was like, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe everyone didn't understand that.
Jeremiah doesn't halfway redo anything.
Yeah. No, I do sometimes.
What?
I halfway redid the kitchen the first time.
Oh, I guess that's true.
Not this time. This time we're going all the way.
Yeah, this is definitely the stage of too late to change your mind.
Bruce has been so helpful.
I bet.
Don't jump down the laundry chute.
On that note, we are gonna go to bed because we have a lot of work to get done tomorrow and the next day and the next day.
Okay.
Good night, you guys. We bless you. Until next time.